Hello, welcome. I'm Glenn,
I'm Xander.
and together we are Fun King 3D. This installment of the video is the first building of the Prusa Research i3 Mk2s. It's a big name. It's actually in the guide, step 2. Stay tuned. All right, so I'm not sure why step 2 is actually the first beginning, but the introduction was step 1. So this is your step 2. So everything you're gonna need is number 2 bags, number 2 parts, number 2 stuffs. So I've got let's go to the overhead. I've got tools and parts already laid out. I did take the time to get that ahead of time. You will need the tool bag that comes with the kit. As I said in the introduction, I have my own tools, so I will likely be using most of those. Real quick, hopping over to the guide, you see that the introduction was step 1. We've already done that. We're going to go here into the number 2 y-axis assembly. It is moderate difficulty. There are 45 steps to this part. It says it requires 3 hours. Xander and I have decided we're going to try to beat that. So get your tools together. That's your first step. Get your 3D printed parts together, which we have. We have this bag of printed parts, step 2. And that is all the orange and then the single black part. And what they don't say there is that you also need your hardware bag. And here we are going to assemble the y-axis rods. Now I didn't take the rods out of the tube. I wanted to do that here live on camera. I'm going to go to the sky view. So here's the tube, and we didn't take this out during the unboxing.
The ancient rule of Prusa.
Scroll,
whatever.
Alright, so in here we have the threaded rods. We have some cable wrap. We have some cable wrap wrapped around a rod. Some more cable wrap wrapped around a rod. All right, so we have smooth rods and we have threaded rods, and this this particular step does not require any of the smooth rods. It says here that we need M10 nuts, 14 of those, M10 washers, 12 of those, M10 threaded rod, 2 pieces. I don't see here where it says which threaded rods we need, but I'm going to shoot in the dark here and say it's pretty obvious that we need these two longest ones. Because if you were to use any of these for your y-axis, it would be a very short y-axis. These would be the cross rods. I'm not sure why they gave us 4 though, but I'm just going to set those just gently off to my side here so that I have them. But all of the smooth rods now, I am going to tuck back into the tube. Trying not to bang them together.
Into the scroll.
And I will set that back and onto the way. They also gave me this nice stick for whacking Xander when he falls asleep. You know, if he dozes off during this, I can just give him a good whack. All right, so Here it says screw the nuts on and place washers, Y corners, and PSU Y part on the threaded rod shown in the picture. All right, so ensure initial 100 millimeter distance between a washer after counter nut and the Y-axis corner. Use the photo as reference. All right, so there's lots of photos up here that show you. As you can see, that is critical. That measurement is pretty critical, and we'll get to that in a minute. So first I want to hop back over here. I'm going to blow that up to be a large image so that we can see. I want you, sir, to dig me out. Well, let's just dump this whole bag out.
Yeah.
We'll let you guys see what we're doing. I took this number 2 Y-axis bag and I've dumped it completely out on the table. And Mr. Zander here is going to find us the parts that we need. And that would be 14 of the M10 nuts, the big nuts, which should be labeled. Those are washers. Okay, they don't label them, but are those the bigger? It's going to be those ones.
14.
The other ones are M8s. We need 14 of those, and then we need 12 of these washers. All right, and while he's doing that, I'm gonna take these plastic parts out of this bag and lay them across the front of our work surface here. Sorry, I'll try to be careful with the noise. Chances are I'll edit any loud noises out before you guys hear this video, but could you try to be quiet with the loud noises? All right, so I'm gonna come back over here to the diagram so you guys can see. So it looks to me like I had a shot that would show the screen and the sky view here, but all right, so we have the two threaded rods, my 2 threaded rods here, which are these guys right here. I have these 4 plastic pieces, and it is funny how the camera turns this orange, almost a yellowy orange, which is what color I thought it was. This is like safety orange. If you're a hunter and you have blazed orange hunting gear, I mean, this is absolutely safety orange. It's pretty awesome. But these 4 pieces right here, and then I have this guy, and if we hop back over here, that's these 4 right here, and this guy right here.
How many of these?
12 of those, sir. All right, so I'm going to start threading. Well, these are very coarse. I was going to chuck up my drill. I was going to put something in my drill to allow me to spin these down really fast. But I used my drill in the AA video, and the sound was so horrific on the video that I've decided that I'm not using a drill during any of this. If it takes me a little longer to thread this stuff on, it takes a little longer. It's just the way it has to be. You got 12 of those?
Yes.
All right, so here, take one of these rods. Why don't you shift over a little bit into more into the frame? There you go. So the first thing you want to do is take 2 of those nuts and get them threaded down about this far. Do 2. Get them both on there, and then you can run them both at the same time. Otherwise, you're going to end up threading one down and one down again. Now, you guys, if you look at this picture, it's showing you all these nuts and washers and stuff, and then there's nuts and washers laying out here. But this is actually just showing you what's here. So like you can't really see this end, but there's a washer and a nut on the end. And same here, there's a washer and nut on the end, and there's a washer and nut here. So this is just kind of a layout image of what you're putting onto the rod. So don't think that you have to put these on the rod and then also have an extra set to the side. I don't know how far in these have to go, so I'm just going to put it in just like that far, and then I will pull my parts back to that. Just I have like maybe 1 thread sticking onto the end. I know it's tedious, isn't it? No wonder this step takes 3 hours. This
is this far down enough?
Kind of a good view if I focus that. No, it's gonna have to be further, but we can move it later. It's not gonna hurt being just right there. All right, so now I've slid 2 washers on, which are gonna be in between there.
Now what do I put?
No, your next step is you're gonna put a third nut on.
Okay.
A little bit further because you got to put a piece of plastic behind that. You're not in view of the camera, by the way. People can't see what you're doing. Let's do this. Let's over here. Let's punch up over to here. Bring you into focus. And then the people can see what you're doing. In fact, let's not, being that we're filming on us, we'll take us out of that image.
Is this far?
Yeah, that's probably too far, but okay. All right, so now you gotta put a washer on. And then you're gonna put this on. And you're going to put it on like this, which is something you guys should see. This piece of plastic right here, it has to go on like this because your smooth rod is going to go into here. And it needs to follow along with the rod. So, just picking that up. You do not do it this way. Don't, not, no. Just don't want somebody to pick up that part of the video and be like, oh, I put it on the wrong way. So, there you go. Now you're going to put another washer and another nut. And you're going to put that nut.
Washer first?
Yep, washer first. And then a nut. And then just thread that nut on where you got just one thread sticking out. Mental note, when you do these, put the 2 washers in both these and thread them all at the same time. because whoo, that's a long way. All right, you didn't listen to what I said. I said thread it where you just have one thread. It's got to be just on the very end. I hope our viewers listen better than you do.
Okay.
All right, so now you gotta back that washer up, back that plastic up, and back that nut all the way. Thread that all the way back to the plastic. I bet that sound is amazing.
Okay.
Okay, so now take 2 washers, put them on from this end, and then a nut. You want it to be, you know, just about like that.
Like right here.
Yeah, and then thread a nut on, and then it has to come all the way down to about here. Just like this. See that? Yeah, however you're going to do it, it's good. Preferably off the table so it doesn't make that noise. This is the way we thread the rod. Alright, so that's that side ready to go. My hands feel weird from touching that. I suppose it's the threaded rod, it has some kind of a coating on it. So what I have built here is this one. Or if I go to this view gives us all kinds of view. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, why is that cutting my face off? I wish that it was the detail. I'm gonna have to move that around. That should be the detail is the main, but this is showing just like all kinds of stuff. Oh, no, you have to have another washer in there. You have to take that off. No, I'm just kidding, just kidding.
Now get it off.
Sorry, I didn't mute that in time. I'll have to knock that down. I know that was loud. All right, so I'm gonna hop back over here. We're gonna get out of that picture. This is critical. This whole 100 millimeter thing. So we're gonna
Just far enough.
I don't know why that picture won't stay. All right, here we go. I'm gonna blow that picture up.
It's far enough down.
Yeah, that's fine for now.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm an Imperial guy. I work on cars a lot, and Imperial has been. I mean, I know cars now are becoming more and more metric, but this thing has to be 100 millimeters, which is just under 4 inches, 3 15/16. So it can actually be done. Let's come back to the overhead. It can be done with a 6-inch caliper. If you don't own a caliper, if you order the 3D printer and you don't own a caliper, get online, order one now. Amazon has them relatively cheap, like $14 or $15. This particular one came from the Big Blue hardware box store here in the US. It does up to 6-inch. It's fairly accurate. I also have ordered soon as I ordered a 3D printer, I ordered a 12-inch caliper as well. This guy was about $40 or $50, but it's going to help with squaring the frame and not having to guess and trial and error. So, but right now we're going to use the 6-inch caliper, and that drawing shows that from the edge of the orange to this washer, so let's come over here to the, so from the, well, the orange color in this camera is so much nicer. This is more of a representative of what the orange actually looks like. So, all right, so, but from this orange to this washer needs to be 100 millimeters. So now the problem here is you're measuring from the inside of one thing to the outside of another thing, which, if you're not familiar with how to use a caliper, when you're checking the thickness of something, you use this side. When you're checking an inside diameter, like if you wanted to check the inside of these holes, you're actually going to put it in like this. And if you want to check depth, which I don't really have a, so you would put this end and you'd run that caliper all the way to the bottom. See that little plunger, and that's going to give you your depth. So we're going to actually have to use a depth measurement on this, because we are going to have things be in the way here. I'm going to this end, I'm going to loosen this a little bit. I'm going to temporarily turn that sideways, because I want to lay my caliper against this washer. I don't know if it's going to clear.
Don't I need the black and...
No, you don't get a black one. All right, so I'm going to set my caliper. I'm going to set my caliper to be 100 millimeters, spot on. If you've ever used a caliper, you know how difficult this is, because you'll get right to the number you want, and then it'll jump like a whole bunch. Then I'm going to lock it down. This little screw on the top locks this carriage from moving. So we are now, this way so you can see, we are, oh! All right, now we are at 100 millimeters. So I gotta try to get this. Oh, that's a long way off. In fact, that's almost where the other one is. All right, so these I'm gonna tighten those a little bit more. This is some riveting video right here, isn't it? But this is one of the most critical steps, because the main frame, the frame upright, fits in between these two washers right here. Right now I went too far. Now we can start running it the other way. So, you know, you guys can't really see that, but I am now pretty satisfied that that is, put on my Superman glasses. I am satisfied that that is 100 millimeters to that washer. So now what you want to do, you want to hold this. You want to hold this nut, and you want to turn this nut up against it. And you can actually tighten these two up. Now I understand why they give you 2 wrenches. Sorry for crinkling the plastic bag. All right, so I'm going to take one of their handy dandy fancy wrenches. And I'm going to take my wrench. You are going to hold one nut and you are going to tighten the other nut. But here's where it's critical. The nut where the washer is, the one furthest away from this orange, you want to make sure that you do not move that, that you hold that as tight as you can, and you tighten this nut, the secondary nut, against it without moving this one. You want this one to stay where it is. So when you're tightening it, you don't want to tighten this one. You know, you don't want to move both wrenches. You want this wrench to stay exactly where it is and only tighten the nut that's closest to here. And then I'm going to go back and check one more time. Slide my washer up against there. And I'm still plenty pleased with that being at 100 millimeters. And then we can just kind of tighten this over a little bit. I'm going to leave about 13 millimeters in there. And then I will turn this other end back up the way it's supposed to be. And I'm just going to just hand tighten this so that it's like so. Okay, so now you have to put another nut and then a washer.
Or
This camera can't see you at all.
where do you want me to put it on here?
It's going to be just like this. You don't want to run it in about that far. You're building. Get rid of that. You're building this picture right here. The top one.
Let me go a little farther.
I love the fact that
This way?
these parts for our Prusa printer were printed on a Prusa printer.
Like this?
Yes, sir. And then you'll put a washer and then another nut.
Okay. I'll have to make this go. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta move this one in. It's easiest to take this one too far in, and then get your outside one set. So you have just a thread, just one little thread on the end there, and then go ahead and pull that back and bring that nut back. I'm just gonna finger tighten that. All right, so I can already tell you based on doing mine that we'll have to, and you want to make sure that these two nuts have just a little bit of space in between them. If you get them too tight as you try to turn them both together, it'll freeze up. Because that's the whole point of those, is it's a jam nut. So that once you tighten one to the other one. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna turn this end down so that I can get my caliper in there, which turned off. Yeah, I still got a long way to go on that. It's like that, they jam up to each other. What are you doing, little Billy? Oh, I'm on YouTube watching this guy put nuts on a threaded rod. All right, that is my 100 millimeter. So now we have our two jam nuts there. Same deal. We're gonna lock the one that's away from, I just moved. I'm gonna lock that one that's away from the end, and we're going to turn nice and tight. I'm gonna move that washer back. We're gonna confirm. No. All right, so when you go to free it up, same deal. You wanna undo the jam nut, not the other one. I need to come forward just a fraction of a millimeter. And I don't know, I mean, I know this measurement is very crucial for your axis being correct. And I don't know if it's crucial down to like a quarter of a millimeter or not, but my obsessive compulsive disorder tells me that it needs to be 100 millimeters. Oh, move that washer back. Oopsies. I will take that. All right, now I'm going to move this one out away from it a little bit more, so we got a little bit more room to put that in. And we'll turn this one back up. Again, just finger tight for now. I want to confirm that I got this tight enough. I'm not sure that I put all the strength into that I could have for. Oh yeah, it's good. All right, so that's that. Just like that. That, boom, looks just like that. Yes?
Yeah.
Are you pleased?
Yeah.
You did a good job. No, that wasn't a question. I'm telling you, you did a good job.
I know.
Like, you know, good boy, Ralphie. All right, so let's hop back over to here. Get rid of that photo now. Into each other, counter nut. Okay. Note that there is no gap between the parts. They have to fit together. That's good. Got all that. For initial position of Y corners, you can temporarily mount the rods. See step 10 and 11. All right, so let's scroll down to 10 and 11. Ah, okay, I see what they're saying. So, let's come back to Skyview. What they're telling us there yeah, I'll have to edit that out. That was loud. All right, so we're going to get rid of, not literally get rid of, you don't want to get rid of this wrap. You need this wrap. It's for cable management later, but we're going to get rid of it for now. The fact that somebody took the time to put this on. Okay. All right, so there's 2, 2, and 2. 2 short, 2 medium. Really trying not to bang them on the table. Okay, that instruction there is telling us, and I'm not sure why they highlighted the green end down here when this is the odd, but you want you want the medium ones, the mid-sized. So you want these guys right here. Love that mute button. All right, so I'm gonna slide these back into the tube. These are the short and the longs. And we're gonna keep the mid. So what they were saying back there is that you can actually use these. Now for some reason, this one seemed a little tight going in. See that? Pops up out of there. But yet we put that at the very, very end. Go. Boy, it does not take much. I turn that nut just a little tiny bit for that to, I'm not gonna snap those down in there yet, but that's how those go. So now we know that the length of it is right as well. And I don't know, we back over there and scroll back up. So that's this right here saying, let's see what the comments say real quick. Yeah, 90 degrees square. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, so anyway, it's pretty much just covering what's already covered. So it doesn't say one way or another, but I am going to go ahead and tighten up these ends now. I think that I'm going to go ahead and use all right, I'm going to use the 2 wrenches that came with the unit just because. And same deal here. You want the outside nut to not move, the inside nut to be the one that tightens down. And the reason for that is because you're worried about the length. And if you tighten the outside one in, it's going to push that. And at the same time, with this hand, I'm pushing down on the rod so that the 2 plastic end pieces are staying flat to the table, so that I don't end up with twist, which we will. We'll have to correct that later, but just double checking again. Still good. There's already a little twist in that. All right, so that one is complete. Do you want to do this part?
No.
Oh, I feel bad when you don't get to do the building. I know you get bored. Then I have to put captions above your head in the video. That's probably an awful noise. I don't know how tight those have to be. I'm almost afraid to make them too tight and crush the plastic, but okay, it's still good. The rods still fit in there. That's fantastic. All right. These back. This is actually a mount for the power supply. That's why only one side of this got that. All right, so we're gonna pop back over here and we're gonna scroll down and get rid of those comments. All right, so now, oh, that makes sense why we have 4 of those then. Okay, so that the assemble the Y-axis stage rear, exit stage left. So we're going to use M8 nuts. We're going to need 8 of the M8 nuts. That'd be those guys. So we have 8 of those. And 8 of the washers. And 2 of these threaded rods. I guess I can kind of set these out in a way. Fair warning, you need a large workspace for this. I'm always afraid that that thing's gonna make a big noise in the microphone.
How many washers?
8.
Where are the washers? Oh.
Right there. And we're gonna need this guy. Yes, it's this one. Here. This piece right here. Looks like this. And again, that picture is showing you how it's laid out and what you're putting on there. Sure, the orientation of the Y motor part. Well, honestly, it wouldn't matter. You could build it however you want. You could just flip it and rotate it, but I guess make it look like the picture. See what the comments say while I'm just getting those nuts out. The photos from the Mk2 and not the Mk2s. The printed part is a little bit different. Yes, that is true. It is a little bit different, but I don't think you'd even realize it. Motor mount will not end up being in the center of the threaded rod. Final position was 64.42 millimeter between the motor side of the mount and the Y corner. So that's thank you to Keith Otlinger. That's good information to have. The information that I don't have there is what side the motor goes on. So I'd have to reference another image for that, but that's okay. How many you got there, boy?
8.
8 nuts, 8 washers?
Yep.
Alright, so take one of these here threaded rods. Oh yeah. Don't worry, there's only 2 more after this. Only 2 more threaded rods. So you can put a nut on the end, and then a washer. Actually, that's not going to matter, so we can't thread the other one on until the plastic part goes on there. I don't think I'm going to worry about that. The 64.42 millimeters. We just know that it's not centered, but that's easy enough to adjust later when we're getting our Y belt in place. You gotta turn faster. For that end. Definitely don't want to be on there a little bit. Alright, so then I'm taking in this guy. Just lit it on there like that.
How much farther does this have to go?
Past half. It's got to go all the way to the middle like this. You might want to try this way. Maybe this way will work better for you. Just
no.
All right.
This way works better for me.
Yeah, but it doesn't work better for me. I'm waiting on you. That's why this step takes 3 hours. So have a kid help you. For those of you who don't know, this YouTube channel was was born to well, to kind of encourage other parents to teach their kids how to do stuff like this. I've always been a very hands-on DIY kind of guy, and Xander not so much. So, but he's always been very, video game and computer oriented, and worships YouTubers. So if you're a well-known YouTuber, he feels you are a celebrity, and I guess that's all right.
Okay, this is past halfway. Not even Prusa.
Okay, we're going to put washer and a nut.
It's a new version of Mickey.
Oh, now the mouse police are going to come get us.
No.
Somebody posted to Twitter, I think it was yesterday, a Mickey Mouse luggage tag that they had designed and printed, and that's what I had commented. Oh, be careful! The Mickey or the mouse police are going to come get you. Well, I'll tell you what, nobody's harder on copyright than Harley Davidson. I mean, I'd always heard that Coca-Cola was hard. Harley Davidson is crazy about their copyright. I ran a t-shirt company a few years back, which is actually where Fun King began. And I wasn't even very big. I was a small t-shirt company. The main thing that I did was stuff for my car club, which was a nationwide car club, and that was like my main business. And I actually received a letter from Harley Davidson's legal department warning me to not ever even think about making their stuff, even for myself personally. Like, I had never made the stuff. It was just a friendly letter saying, just don't even think about doing it. I thought that was pretty crazy. So I never did it. I never had a need to, but yeah, I mean, typically you can make, like, if I wanted a, I don't know, Coca-Cola shirt, I could make myself a Coca-Cola shirt. Because I didn't make it for profit. I made it for myself, but not with Harley Davidson. They don't even want you making this stuff for yourself. All right, so again, going back to Keith's comment, final position 64.42 between the motor side of the mount and the Y corner. So I guess we're gonna, like, we won't know. Actually, down in step 6, and we'll down in step 6, it actually gives us some measurements, so we'll worry about that then. Right now, back to sky view. Let's go to sky and us view. I love having that overhead camera. It was just it was an old Logitech 310 that I had that we weren't really using, and so I strapped it to a piece of aluminum angle and hung it off my shelf. All right, so good news. These are the last 2 threaded rods. My fingers are like gross. All right, so we need 6 M8 nuts. 6 M8 nuts.
These?
And 6 washers. Yes. And look, being I'm such a cool dad, I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to give you this one. And I'll do this one.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Guess we should give you guys something to look at instead of just staring at that page. Good job dragging that across the desk like that.
Thank you.
Alright, so it's this piece right here. And in the picture, you see it from this side. So I'm going to flip it and put it on the rod. So that turns out like this. Again, not that it matters, because if it was like this or whatever, you can just rotate that rod around until you get it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, definitely, it has to go through here, so you want it to be, on a little ways, but
Here?
That'll be fine. You show it to the camera. Right here. So it's just a nut with a washer on the end. And this one I've slid another washer on, and I'm running that nut down. And sometimes you can spin the nut like this. Sometimes I hold the nut, and then with this hand I just spin the rod. Sometimes I even do like this and spin the rod so that all the other parts stay down and out of the way. All right, so that's about in the center. I'm not going to tighten it up yet until we figure out where it's going.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other two washers. All right, so now we have built, yeah, I can't tell which way that is in the picture, but I think it's like that and like that. We're definitely gonna have to be down in further. Let's go through that one block. So there's that and that. My hands are really gross. All right, let's so what I have looks just like that. All right, so now let's get rid of that picture. Get rid of that picture, get rid of that picture, and that will be the end of step 5. Now, step 6 is fully assembling the Y-axis. Again, I don't know the best view for this, so I guess we're going to go with the Skycam. Hopping back over there real quick, let's blow this picture up because you can see 152 millimeter inside to inside is what I take that as on both ends, and then 65 and 68, 65 and 77. So, all right, let's we'll get it assembled, make it match the picture, and then we'll size it. We'll get it all sized with the caliper. Let's do this so people can see you. Got a little lunch on your lip. All right, so we're going to take this one, which is the one that has the power supply piece on it.
Beep, boop, beep.
This. All right. Now, looking at that picture where this is curved, you want that up. And this is also going in the top set of holes. And that's how I sling the washer. Sling the washers. Okay, so that's that. This one's a little easier because it's all bolted together. And by the picture, it goes in like this. You see this piece. So it goes in like this. It seems so small, doesn't it? All right, we definitely have to put some nuts around there. Oh, we want to. I guess I'm going to bring these inside nuts in a good distance. And then we can, well, we know that it's supposed to be 152 millimeter. But I think that's from the inside of the plastic to the inside of the plastic. So again, we're going to set this now. Just for the record, 152 millimeter is right at the length that this caliper goes. This is actually a 150 millimeter caliper, but it goes over just a little bit. It goes up to 153 something. All right, so I'm locking it in at 152. It just went down to 151.99. Sorry, it's so finicky. I realize that, 0.1 of a millimeter or 0.01 of a millimeter probably doesn't matter, but all right, so yeah, there's if I can be able to get you guys to be able to see this, but there you can see there's quite a gap, so that does need to come in. And then we know I need 2, 4, 6, 8. I need 8 more nuts and 8 more washers. All right, now work on the other side. Back to the sky view. Sorry, I got a case of the cough there. Far now. And again, as you see, I'm using these tabs on the caliper, which are your inside measurement. Good. All right, so I'm going to put a washer on the outside and then a nut. I'm going to thread that outside nut just till there's one thread sticking out.
It up. Okay, sure, it's all fixed.
All right, so I've put the outside nuts on this. And it is, wow, with just one thread sticking out, it's too tight. Looks like by a couple of millimeters too, so I guess I'm gonna set those nuts pretty much flush at the end of the threaded rod. Which, I mean, it's good thinking on their part if that's the way that it works out to be, because then you don't have that threaded rod sticking out of there. Wow, and that is pretty much exactly how it is. So when you put these outside nuts on, they are flush with the threaded rod. And that put me right at the 152 millimeter mark. Now I'm just gonna hand tighten these. Again, it doesn't say one way or the other. At least I don't think it did. So back over and close out of that picture for a second. Ensure correct placement. Given dimensions are recommended, not absolute. Use them as a guidance for your assembly. Your final values can slightly differ. Okay, so I'm worried about setting it to exactly 152, and it doesn't really need to be, but you know what? Again, I have a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's going to be. Let's get back to the Skynet view. All right, now it's a little sloppy. So I'm going to check to see all of those. All those are flush. I'm going to turn that just a little. Turn that just a little. I like it. Now, if you go to Thingiverse, there are things that you can download to put in here that are spaced the exact right dimension and stuff, so you can just squeeze against it and all of that. But, you know, my thought on that is if you're not printing on a printer that's perfectly calibrated, then the piece that you cut isn't going to be exactly the size anyway. My caliper is far more accurate. All right, so I'm actually, it feels like I'm just a hair over on the top side of this. All right, I like that. And again, the pieces are printed, so the sides aren't smooth. So it won't necessarily ever be exactly 152. Now we're going to spin it around. Oh, there's no nuts on that side yet. All right, and again, I'm just putting these to where the threaded rod is just flush with the end of the nut.
Mickey has died.
So over here making Mickey Mouses out of washers and nuts.
Okay.
Sitting there in a couple minutes, you're gonna hear be-doo, 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 and the mouse police come to arrest you. Copyright infringement. Now, the twist in all of this will be adjusted later as well. I just adjusted it a little bit now because it was starting to get a little rocky, but all that will be adjusted later too. So it's kind of hard to get to these ones over here where the piece for the power supply is. Like that. Bottom could stand to come out just a hair, but once we paint the inside ones. Yeah, I like it. I would be willing to live with that, at least for the next 20 seconds or so. All right, let's hop back over here and see that photo. Our piece looks like that piece. Now, that one is showing that it's going to be 65 millimeter here to here and 65 millimeter here to here. So we'll go ahead and use those two, because then I can just set the caliper one time. For some reason, the calipers are those kind of tools where you can move it at 0.01 millimeter all the way until you're 0.01 millimeter off, and then all of a sudden it moves like 2 millimeters. All right, so here to here is supposed to be 65, and that's off by quite a bit. I'm going to turn this way. I can't say I really like this frame, this whole threaded rod frame. I mean, I realize it gives you a lot of adjustability, but I would think that a precision made part would have been a better option. Almost. All right, that's about 65. I mean, it might be a hair thickness off, but I would say that will definitely be, because they did warn us that the given dimensions are recommended, not absolute. So, and I'm not going to over tighten this right now, because we may end up moving it once the motors and belts are put on. The motor and belt.
Motor.
Only gets one. Thinking about a 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton gas engine for on here. All right, so comes around this way. All right, so that's the 65, and then the other 65 is the here. So it's the opposite corners like this, and again, I mean, the pictures aren't that detailed to show, but I have to assume that that is plastic to plastic, which would be right here. Just a quick check. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And I'm sure there will be some adjustments that are needed, but that now matches what we have in this photo. So that. So we are now done with step 6, and we are going to move on to step 7, which is preparing for our Y-axis stage. To build a stage. You want to grab the frame?
Yeah. The big one, the square.
Yeah, the big piece.
That says Prusa on it.
Yes, it does. Get those out of the way. Sorry if that was loud.
On the picture.
Aren't you beautiful? All right, so see, a good solid frame. I could do the same thing for the bottom. All right, so in this picture, it is showing us, let me blow that picture up so we can see it. It is showing us having the Prusa at the upper left and the power supply piece in the upper right of the frame, and this is under this. So we're going to go under this. Try not to bang that down too hard and loud. And then this is over the top of this, and I already understand where we're going with this. All right, so ours looks like theirs minus the little squares. Wow, that was the easiest step yet.
Yes.
All right, so now we are going to tighten the sides to the y-axis. Ah, I see. Okay. So what they're doing is they're actually taking this frame, and they're sliding it all the way to this front like this, so that you know. Can you put a hand on that right there? Just a hand, not a finger, a hand. There you go. Slide up, join me like you want to be here. Okay, don't let go of that, because that will make a tremendous amount of noise. All right, so what they're doing is they're using this frame, because it's notched for these threaded rods, to ensure that they are where they're supposed to be. And then we're going to tighten on each side. That's the smaller, that is the 13mm side. And what I'm doing is I'm actually doing them both equally, because at this point we don't need one to hold to the other one. We need these rods to stay in the middle where they are. So not really sure how I'm supposed to get to those bottom ones. Adjust and tighten M8 nuts, rotate the y-axis stage and repeat. After adjusting, the y-axis stage should cause minimal movement while inserting into the frame. Tighten the M8 nuts gently or you'll risk damaging the 3D parts. It is incredibly important that the axis is perfectly rectangular at this stage of construction. All rods need to be perfectly straight and level. If not, you'll have troubles calibrating later on. All right, so I guess we don't want to torque these down too much, is what they're telling us. Or we could just crush the plastic part. Okay, so now we're going to move this. I guess we could, here, go ahead and hold on to that. Flip this. So in a weird roundabout way, all I did was take this whole y-axis and spin it and put it back in here. You can't, because of the piece for the power supply, you can't get it in far enough, but it should be. But it should be good enough to be able to tighten these down. All right, now that was all of the top sets. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm actually going to rotate it this way, and it doesn't say to do this, it's just what I've decided I want to do. Sometimes I'm a lawless rebel and I live by my own rules. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing by taking this and just rotating it this way and putting it back in. These are actually the bottom ones that I'm doing now. Woo. A little slippage there. Did you want to do this part?
No.
All right. Okay, now I'm going to take this, flip this back over. The way they had it originally was like this.
Yeah.
And it still drops down in there. Teeters around a little bit, but we'll figure that out in a second. All right, so that is the end of step 8. And step 9 is a video. All right, I guess we can get rid of this frame now for just a second or two. I'm not really sure where to put it. I don't have any legs on this desk to lean it against. So, all right. So, and it's now saying to identify the length of rods again. No, I guess not again. We skipped ahead to this step.
Yeah.
So, all right. So it's just back to the same two rods that we were using before. And then we're going to go to 11. And 11 is...
it has a video for stuff on it.
Insert the 2 medium length smooth rods into the y-axis stage. Rod length is 330 millimeter. And everything's still good. Everything still fits. It says after tightening the adjust and tighten the M10 nuts. All right, well, we technically already did that back before when we were putting it together. We had already set our 100 millimeter from here back. These are all already tight. I don't know if I really tightened them. I mean, obviously you can't torque on them too much, you'll crush the plastic. But I'm just going to give them just a quick, and I'm only tightening the outside. Oh, let's go the right way. I'm only tightening the outside nut, not the inside nut, because that will change the length. All right, I'm happy with that amount of tight. Okay, so I got a little wobble in there. You see that? They're going to cover that. In fact, they might talk about that in the video. But all right, and then it says to remove the 2 8 millimeter rods. They don't want those in there yet because we still have to put bearings and stuff on them. All right, so insert the 2 medium length 8 millimeter smooth rods into the y-axis. Adjust and tighten the M10 nuts. After tightening the nuts, there shouldn't be any gap between the 8 millimeter rods and the y-axis corners, which is true. They're very tight to the ends, so that's great. We can watch the video if you want, but you guys can watch the video on your own. Just kind of breeze through it here. you guys can't deny that Prusa's doing a pretty knockout job of making their assembly easier. All right, so I guess we'll clean that up. It kind of bothers me, so we got a little wobble in that, so I'm just going to slide the wrench underneath that end and just kind of torque down just a little bit. I guess I did just a little bit too much, so now I'm going to put the wrench under this side, torque down on this just a little. No more wobble. It's as easy as that. All right, so now it's telling us to the marker used in the next step is made as a countersunk hole. See the picture. So we grab the can you get it? You want me to get it?
Oh, good.
All right. So all right. This is are you Bane from Batman? That's right here. Yeah. Okay. So it's right here, just as in the picture. Actually, it looks a little different, but it is a countersunk hole. I don't think that we need this frame at this point, but I don't really have anywhere to set it, so I'm just going to leave it right here unless it absolutely gets in the way. So it's showing here that little mark. Let's pick up what the comments are on this. Does marker refer to a countersunk hole or the white dot? And it is a countersunk hole. Why not right top on the top side? Exactly what I was thinking. All right, well, regardless, it has a countersunk hole. To right top on there would be more, I assume this is laser cut. So I guess the countersunk hole is a cheaper option. It now wants bearings. When placing bearings onto the Y carriage, make sure that they are oriented as shown in the picture. One of the tracks has to be in line with the cutout for the bearing. This orientation has to be followed in all three bearings on the Y carriage. Marker on the Y carriage must be facing the table. Marker on the Y carriage must be facing the table, not visible. Okay, so they made us find that marker. They made us find that marker, and now they're telling us that it has to be facing the table. Yeah, I think that should have been first. Like they should have said, locate that marker and then put it face down to the table. So, but can you guys see, blow this up, what they're saying about how this line in the bearing has to be in line. Oh, here, I thought I was on this. This line in the bearing has to be in line with the slot so that the weight of it is laying on the threaded rod or on the smooth rod. Yeah, go ahead and open these bearings up. Ooh, that's it's titanium plastic or something. It's I couldn't tear it either. Of course, my hands are kind of gross from that threaded rod. There you go. Always cut away from yourself, never towards yourself. All right, you can get those three out. I'm going to grab a paper towel.
Paper
That's my
towel.
terrible French accent. That came from watching Monty Python's Holy Grail for so many years. Your mother was a hamster. Your father smells of well, the better it is.
What?
It's part of the movie. It's time for you to watch that movie again. You haven't watched it in a long time. That's the one with the Black Knight, you know. I'll have your leg.
Oh yeah.
For a flesh wound.
With a bunch of ketchup in the movie.
It was a very low budget film.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Alright, so what I have here is some 3-in-1 silicone. You know, a lot of the guys use the HDFE lube. I use the silicone on the A8. It seems to work pretty well. Your mileage may vary. I'm not telling you to run out and buy this stuff. It is what it is. So, but I'm going to go ahead and oh, I can't even see down in there. On go the Superman glasses.
We have a night to say. Neat.
This stuff is thin, but I like to put enough of it in there and just have it drip out the other side, which is the point of the paper towel. Don't play with these. I don't know if the bearings are all hooked to each other internally, so but I lube up all 3 of them nicely. And yes, I've put an excess amount in there, but I just want it to work around in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these 8mm smooth rods and I'm going to put that bearing onto that rod. I'm giving it a little twist while I put it on, and then I'm just going to run it a little bit. That's a terrible noise. They actually sound a lot better than the A8 bearings. I'll do the next one, same thing. I'm going to twist it on. So you can feel the difference. You start moving and it's all gritty in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it's just like, it's really smooth. And when I'm doing it, I'm applying pressure down and then this way and up, and just to kind of oh, look, we got a little seal problem on that one. Actually, I don't think so. I think it's just extra material. I think it just wasn't cut off of the seal originally because I couldn't get the rod to go through there. Okay, so should have grabbed another paper towel. Can you grab me another paper towel? Can you reach them? In fact, just bring that whole roll over here. What's left of it anyway. And then pull me one off. I don't even want to touch like how wet my hands are. Just there you go. All right, I'm gonna wipe the rod down. I didn't realize that it's gonna get lubed up again later, but now just set them over there. For now, that'll. And then I'm gonna wipe off the outside of the bearing just to get any copious amounts off of there. Then we'll set these in the plastic bag. We'll get rid of this back here in the trash. All right, so let's hop back over. There it is. So we're going to take our bearing. See in there? We're going to get that line of ball bearings. See the line of ball bearings in there?
Yeah.
And we're going to lay that in line. That. All right, so there's one comment to that, and it says, as mentioned in the comments for step 4 of the x-axis, consider rotating the two bearings at a 45-degree angle so that the balls are offset and the rod will slide better. Refer to step 4 on the x-axis for a picture of what this rotation looks like. All right, so what they're saying is to take that bearing and kick it 45 degrees over. So instead of the shaft running on one row of balls, it would actually have two in the corners. But there's no reply back from Prusa on that. And what Prusa says is to put them in line like this, and that is where I'm going to put it. Sorry, no offense to you, Steve. Ooh, I can't pronounce your last name, but I cannot take your consideration on that.
Steve Trefethen.
Trefethen?
Trefethen.
All right, so begin by locating the marker. At this step, the marker should be facing the table, not visible, and only then you can add the bearings. If you place bearings to the same side as the marker, you will have issues later. And then it says to, oh, that's because I'm looking at the wrong picture. It says to insert the 3x20x16 U-shaped bolt into the Y carriage as shown in the picture, but it didn't show it, but it does in this picture. So that's one of these.
One of those.
And it's going to go over the bearing and through the hole, just like that. There's going to be some tiny nuts that we're going to need for this. Place the linear bearing in the cutout, which we already have. On side with two bearings, slide bearings to the center towards each other as close as possible. Okay, so it's saying to slide them this way, but you can kind of feel like as you do it, it lifts up. It's tilting up as it's coming into the hole. So be careful with that to only bring it a certain distance. And I think that maybe once you put the nuts on, let's see what the comments say over here. None of the pictures are using Y carriage with the position marker. Marker must be facing the table at this stage, not visible. I've changed the description so it is more clear. Okay. Is because the mark shows the upper side and these pictures are showing the bottom side. Okay. Watch you do not over tighten these U-bolts, as I lost a few bearing balls by presumably doing this. On side with two bearings, slide bearings. Okay. Does this mean even if they end up uncentered with the U shape? Hi Alex, yes, the bearing might be slightly off-centered to the U-shaped bolt, but that is okay. Okay. All right, and so let me talk about hammering this stuff in. Okay, so it was bad enough when the A8 manual told me to hammer them in. All right, so this is actually showing here in step 15 is showing to put the bearing, put the bearing, put the bearing, put the U-bolts, but it's not talking about putting the nuts on them yet. And then I'm afraid that when we go to flip it over, they're all going to fall out. So I'm going to just do them one at a time. Yeah, so we are going to need these little lock nuts. I'm assuming that they're going to be in here. These little lock nuts in here.
How many?
6. All right, so I'm gonna move these bearings over onto this paper towel. All right, so all I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my finger on this and flip it over. So I'm holding it with my finger so I can get to the top side, and I'm going to start to thread these down on there. I don't think that I have a, in fact, now looking at my wrench set, I do not have a wrench small enough for this. They're expecting us to do this with pliers. I should have brought in the smaller wrenches. All right, so I'm just going to set that for a second because I'm going to get a different pair of pliers. Oh, I guess I could use the ones that they included. Some super high quality there.
Not like that yellow.
Oh, not like the screwdriver that came with the A8. That went right in the bin. Oh, this is a terrible way to tighten nuts down. I would think a nut driver set here would have been very, very handy. Unfortunately, mine's in the garage, which is a little distance from the house. All right, so it does say over here, it actually says to use the pliers. Place nuts on U-shaped bolt, insert a bearing. Using pliers, tighten the nuts until you reach the surface of the Y carriage, then stop tightening. Use pliers again to rotate with the nuts only 1/4 of a circle, so a quarter turn. Finish tightening. Okay, so it's I gotta admit, it's a little hard to tell when the nut touches that black surface. I'm going to take this out of your view for just a second because I really need to see this. Yeah, tightening nuts with pliers is crazy. All right, so it's just touching the plate now, and now they want that bearing pushed as far that way as possible. I don't really think I want to go any more than that. Now with that snug down, when I pushed that, it really only went to the edge of the circle cut. So, and then 1/4 of a turn more. 1/4 turn. 1/4 turn, and that is it. That is all she gets. Way better than the zip ties. The Mk2 used zip ties for this. Just plastic zip ties. Now they have these nice U-bolts. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the same thing. I'm going to take another bearing. I'm going to ensure that the row of ball bearings down. Go ahead, you can slip it in there. Yours doesn't fit, we have to use a hammer. Yeah, okay, so I can see now what the comment. We'll try this one. These aren't necessarily precision bent, and they may not be bent. Yeah, so you can go ahead and put that one on. Let me hang on, let me get that bearing because that bearing got bumped. All right, go ahead and put that on. Now that bearing got bumped again. All right, same deal. I'm gonna put my finger across there, and I'm gonna flip it over. So I can see now why the people in the comments were saying that they had to hit them with a hammer. One guy said he had to enlarge the holes a little bit. It's not this plate though. It's these. So we'll work it in there, but what we're going to do is we're going to work it in there before we put the bearing in. Oh, my hands are so slick from that silicone. Can't First they were gritty from the rods, and now they're slick from the silicone. All right, so I'm going to, once again, spin these until they touch the plate. Please get yourself a set of nut drivers before you start this process. I don't know if through the rest of the process we will need them, but I will I'll try to make sure that I have a setup here for the remainder of this project just in case. Is that touching? No, it's still a little loose. Alright, so now I'm going to turn it back over and I'm going to make sure that that bearing didn't rotate. Did just a little bit. And then I'm going to slide it. Oh, it is actually already too tight. Alright, and then I'm going to slide it forward. That is it. That is as far as she goes. Ball bearings are down. Okay, flipping it back over and a quarter turn. 1/4 turn. Just kind of squeezing this way and squeezing this way, make sure that that U-bolt doesn't move. Okay, so now we're thinking we're gonna have problems with this last U-bolt. Yeah, it's a little squeezed. See that?
Bend this way.
Bend it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so to do that, might be able to use these. No, those are going to be too big. What we have to do is we have to find something that we can put on there. I don't think I can bend that by hand. I hope I can't. Oh yeah, I did. By too much. I'm Superman.
Where's your cape?
No capes. I don't want to. There we go. All right. Beautiful fit.
Ah, I'm a genius.
Now, if you guys run into that, again, here's where a pair of nut drivers would work, because you could slide them up over there and then squeeze the handles. But ideally, you want to get something over there that's not going to touch the threading. Don't just grab these with pliers. That's not going to be good. You want to put something over that. If you think about like a drinking straw but stronger, I can't really think of anything right now. I just know a set of small nut drivers work really well. You could slide them way up in there and then just kind of squeeze the handles or stretch the handles until you get it where it needs to be. Your mileage may vary. All right, so they're actually saying to put this on. I don't know if that would work. If we put this on first, can you then slide the bearing underneath that? Yeah, I guess as long as you just barely put the nut on. That way I don't have to hold that bearing. It's gonna... so I just hand threaded all the way down to the nylon. Yeah, and the bearing slides underneath there fine. So that's confirmation. And then I'm just gonna hold it with my thumb like this. And I'm gonna take these handy dandy pliers.
Handy dandy pliers.
It's terrible. They should include a wrench for this size. I mean, it's not like the wrenches they included are high dollar items. I think they could have spent the 30 cents and thrown in another one. All right, so it's still a little loose. and I'm kind of watching the length of stud that's sticking out of the two nuts to try to keep them even. Right, and then we're going to do quarter turn, not move. All right, I'm going to undo it just a half turn because I didn't get that centered. I'm going to center that in the slot, and there's only one on this side. A half turn. All right. That is that. I like how they explain a quarter turn, 90 degrees.
Yeah.
The previous version of this manual stated 45-degree turn of the nut. However, correct is 90. See third picture. Don't tighten the nuts more than is described. Maybe it'll deform the bearings. And there's 25 comments underneath here. Better to use a wrench spanner, but the size is not included. Use pliers. All right, so on to 17, which is assembly of the Y idler. So I guess now this guy can be set off to the side. I guess we're back working on this guy. So we need one M325 screw, which will be like this. It'll be in this bag. So let's get rid of some of your garbage over here.
The bigger ones? How many?
One M3x25 screw.
Then this is probably it.
Lay it on the picture and make sure. That is a 1-to-1 picture. It should match exactly. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we need two M3W washer. I don't know what the W means. But that's like the little spacers. Don't hang that bag upside down over the floor. Keep it over the table. Those screws hit the floor and we'll never see them again.
The small ones?
They will look like this right here. Match them to your bag.
This?
Yes.
How many?
Two. Oh, that bag crinkling. Oh, that.
Can you do a better job?
Yeah, why don't you just do this?
You're still crinkling it.
Now we're gonna need this. Okay, and an M3N nylon lock nut. Should be this little tiny lock nut right here. All right, so now we got all of our parts. There's 4 comments to this step, which says this should be done before placing the Y idler on the rod. Does the direction of the bearing housing matter? Symmetrical, therefore you can place it both ways. Well, actually, it's not symmetrical. So if you look at this, the way this is machined, and then this has got a hole in it, but they're saying that, I guess this way it's symmetrical, so it doesn't matter. But Brett, the dairy, makes a good point there. So we go from Oh, I guess here it's showing. I was gonna say, go from get the parts to here it is completed. I thought we were building an A8 all of a sudden. All right, so this guy right here. A washer. It then goes into the plastic piece, whose holes are not large enough. I'm having to thread it through there, but that's okay. Then we're going to put that idler. I can't get my hand out of the way, I'm sorry. You just got to kind of feel around till it. Yeah, I cannot push that through. I have to thread that all the way. What size that is, I should have checked before. If you're building this with the included Allen keys, it'll be different. But if you live in the States and you're near a Harbor Freight store, these were like $6.99 and worth every penny of that $6.99. It's so much better than trying to do it with the L-shaped Allen keys. Allen keys, Allen wrenches, hex wrenches, they have a lot of different names. Alright, and I'm threading that through the plastic, and I'm gonna thread it until the head is snugged. I'm actually crushing. I'm watching that plastic do this as I pull that in. That's how well that's threading in there. So I'm going to unthread it. I'm going to only thread it in until the head touches. Silicone all over the table, on the bag. All right, and then we're gonna do another one of these tiny little M3 washers. And then M3 lock nut. So let's hop back over here for a second and see, because the next part says to tighten the Y idler, use the pliers and a 2.5mm Allen key. Tighten the screw gently, just a half turn max after the washers touch the 3D printed part. All right, so but my problem is that that this threaded in. So now what I've done is I've hand tightened this on. And what I want to do, I want to give this a turn. And then I'm going to back this out until that nut reaches the plastic. And then I'm going to grab it and I'm going to use the Allen key to drive that screw to the nut, as opposed to trying to use the pliers to tighten that up. Now, I don't know if that's supposed to be sloppy like that. And being it's not a high-speed part, I think that's okay. I tightened it down a little bit more, which squishes the plastic in, but it's not binding, it's not overly tight. Okay. You know, you need more to do, don't you?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We're gonna go step 19 is the Y motor distance assembly. All right, so if you guys are following along, we're on step 19, and I've turned this frame around. This is the first piece of electronic that we get to put on this, which is pretty cool. Now again, we didn't, we set these based on the drawing, but they said that yours may vary or whatever, but Step 19, sub-step 1 is place the motor temporarily in the frame next to the Y motor part. See the first picture. All right, so we need an X motor. I'm sorry, a Y motor. Definitely don't want to put the X motor on this. That's an X. That's the extruder. Yeah, 3 choices that it could have been. Of course, I pulled the first 2 incorrectly. I don't know if yours would be the same way, but the Y motor was the one that was in the dead middle. All right, so that's a stepper motor. If you turn it, if you spin that shaft, you feel those, like those are your steps.
Does this go on it?
It does. I don't think yet, but it does. All right, so they're showing that the wires are going forward, and they're setting it right here for whatever reason. And then it says, to take the Y motor distance and place it, I guess this is the Y motor distance, and place it at the very end of the motor casing. The 2 half circle cuts on Y motor distance printed part must be facing the threaded rod. Okay, but it has a notch in it. Note the correct orientation of the cutout for motor wires. It's very important. Ah, so that they actually did show us in this picture right here. So this little cut, oopsies, this little cut right here is actually aiming towards that middle part. So this is towards this. So it would actually down just like this. They want it at the end of the motor. Take that grub screw out of there. I'll beat you, boy. Kid's over here taking apart the pulley. All right, and then I just snapped that onto the. Okay, so that's it. Sorry, I was reading. And there's 21 comments underneath here, but it's just talking about the position. If we have to adjust it later, that's fine. Okay, so now we need 2 M310 screws, which would be these guys. See how it says there, M3 by 10? And there's only 2 of them in there, so.
Okay.
It's,
This one's.
just hold them to the picture. Don't necessarily hold them to each other. Or if you want the caliper, I'll give you the caliper and you can measure them. Which actually, that's a good thing. Let's do that.
Okay, I got both of them.
Let's show the world. All right. So if you guys ever need to know. So it calls for an M310 screw. I don't know if this is the best way to do it or if the overhead, but if you take the screw and you grab the shaft of it in there, see that's coming up at 2.89. That's an M3. That's a 3 millimeter. Then for length, you go to the bottom, and you measure the threaded part up to the bottom of the head. You do not measure the head itself. I'm going to turn it like this because it's a couple notch. Like this, and then 997. That's an M310. So if you guys ever need that information, there it is. Thank you, sir. All right, so this now doesn't really show. I talked about that cutout for the wires. Doesn't show where the wires, maybe in the other picture. So hop over here. Now that shows the wires coming out underneath the threaded rod. Let's go to here. We'll go to here so they can see us and this. All right, so there's that little cutout in this piece, and that's where the wires. That's for the wires to come in there so that they don't get squished. I don't necessarily like the way it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of turning the wires a little bit and flattening them out against the body so that they go into that. They go into that little notch on the distance or distance y-axis axis distance, whatever they called it. All right, so take one of those. I'm pretty sure that's 2.5 millimeter. Take that and thread that into this hole right here. You can actually put that screw on the end of that tool. There you go. Is it the right size? Like, is it tight on there? Yeah. Okay. And then put it in this hole right here. Oh, now you did it. Now, just like a screwdriver, you can spin this shaft and it'll go faster. So if it's threading it, it looks like it is. And a little more, a little more. All right, stop there because we want to be able to move that motor to be able to, and we're going to go into this one down here. We're going to tilt this up. It's in here. Like it's grabbing.
Yeah.
Let go of the T. Yeah, all right, got it. Go ahead. Okay. Let's see. Same here. You guys don't want to over tighten this. You'll pull that screw right through the plastic, but you also don't want it to come loose. I mean, it is a motor, so use your judgment on that. Not sure how I feel about it going under those threaded rods, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. A great shot of my arm here. All right, so let's hop back over here. Motor cables must be facing threaded rods. All right, we got that. Don't tighten the motor yet. In the next step, you need to add another cable. Don't tighten the motor yet. Well, we already did. All right, we have to loosen it up. Well, oh, I see. Insert the Y end stop connector between the motor and the threaded rod. Okay, so I have to grab the Y end stops. Not sure why they wouldn't have packaged that up together, but
how many more steps are there in this step?
I don't know. End stops come in this little box. It is this box that's labeled 2345 sub.
Yeah.
And then there's a bag inside of here. It's like this. These two are not marked individually. It's probably safe to assume that they're the same. Oh, it actually says in the instructions, end stops are part of the box 2345 sub. That's what it says. It's all good, man. All right, so they are exactly the same length. So we're just going to take one. The other one I am going to roll back up, put back in the bag. You can just chuck it back in the box. You can throw it in the garbage. You can do whatever you want with yours, but no, don't throw it in the garbage. Right, put it back in the bag. Put it back in the box. And then I'm going to put the box back over with everything else so it's out of the way. So now we have this little all right. And sure enough, they're right. That motor or that wire does not fit down in between there if you tighten the motor up. So we're just going to loosen it up. Just a touch. And it is telling us to put it. I'm going to slide this right to the edge of the table. It's telling us to take that connector, and put it down from the top. And then I'm going to on my Superman glasses. I'm going to use my Allen key here just to kind of push it down through there because I can't get my big meaty hands in there. Don't put your feet on that garbage can. I would say, for the record, do this before you put the motor on completely. I don't know why they'd have you wait. Alright, gently pull the connector of the cable in the direction away from the frame. See pictures. Alright, let's take you back over to the pictures. So you see they're pushing it down in from the top, all the way down to the bottom and out the back. And then secure the motor to the 3D printed part. Tighten the motor gently to avoid damage to the 3D printed part. Okay. So I guess what they're saying is don't be doing this with a torquing electric screwdriver or an impact screwdriver. So there we got just like that. And then I bet one of these comments will be like, do this before you put the motor on. Make it easier later with the electronic assembly. I marked the white cable of the Y end stop on both ends with a pen so I can distinguish which end stop is the Y. Both end stops have the same cable color, code, and length. All right, so that is a good point. Thanks to Waldemar. And if my trusty co-guy over here will go in that drawer right there, that top drawer, there should be a Sharpie. So what I'm going to do, and it's a black Sharpie, black wire, but on the white side here, I'm just going to do a couple of marks. I just did. See that? So like I tiger striped it there just a couple of times. Then we'll know that's the Y. We won't mark the X. Alright, the other comment is just about missing the lever, because some of these have a big metal lever on them. This one does not. It's just a micro switch. All right, so tightening the Y end stop. So we're going to need 2 M212 screws, which should be those little tiny ones that you have there. We're going to take a look at some of these pictures because I can't really tell. There we go. All right, so the micro switch is closest to the motor. Yeah, they look like they're symmetrical, so you could definitely get it upside down, but got those? All right. Those are probably going to be, oh, it's a 1.5 Allen key. I don't have a 1.5 Allen key in this set. So we have to use the ones that came with it. So tell me, my good man, is this the right size? The next one up, that's tiny. Try that one. Does it lock in there?
Yeah,
okay, so I think the overhead shot would be best for this. So we're going right into here, and again the little tiny micro switch is on this side, and we're going to put that towards the motor. So go ahead and take your screws now, your tiny little screws, and we're going to go through these holes. Those 2 holes in the top. Yep, there you go. You got to kind of feel around. That should be where it moved on me. I don't think that's the right size Allen key. I think you're slipping inside the screw, aren't you? Let me see that. No, that's right. Okay. All right, so go ahead and take your Allen key. We're gonna line it up like this. I put my glasses on. This stuff's so tiny. All right, there you go. Start twisting that down in there. Now you can actually take this way, put it in, and then you can just drive your finger around in a circle. It's like, there you go. Just where it starts to get snug, and then let's get the other one in. All right, let's go and do the other one. Go ahead, keep going. I just want to try to keep the switch square. And unfortunately, the T-handle set only goes down to 2 millimeters, so.
the screw doesn't like it very much.
I don't know if it says, but use gentle force, yep, because you'll end up pulling that screw right through the switch. So in fact, I like to, when you're torquing stuff down, don't put this side into the screw and torque it with this, because then you have too much leverage. Put it this side into the screw and use this to torque it, and then you don't have as much leverage and you won't do it as tightly. And then you know to stop at that point. So all right, so there's our micro switch. This stuff's getting hard to see. A lot of black on black on black. Good thing there's bright orange parts on here. which, you know, should be bright yellow for Fun King. Maybe someday. Let's go here. All right, so that is that. And I guess we can just kind of tuck that wire around. So, you guys can't really see, but I just kind of tuck that wire around. Now we're gonna hop back over here. Guide the wires from the Y end stop to go side by side with the motor cable as shown in the picture, which is what we have. And these two guys coming down out of there together. At some point, I'm sure there's going to be a zip tie involved. And now we are going to assemble the Y belt holder. So we need to bring this guy back into frame. And the way they have it positioned is going to be the exact opposite of the way that you're looking at it here. To me, the single bearing is closest to me, and that's how you want it. So you want to see it like this. I need to see it like this. All right, and then we have this guy, and we need 2 M3 12 screws. Could you find those? I mean, there's so many parts left. I mean, all right. So, and then this side, the open side where the belts go, aim towards the single bearing. I'm pretty sure that's going to be this. Be aware of the orientation of the Y belt holder. Belt entry should face towards the single bearing. See, everything I'm telling you guys is already in the manual. There's no thread in the Y carriage. Just push the screws all the way in. Assemble the M3 nuts on the screws from the opposite side. Are there M3 nuts? We don't have any M3 nuts. Dun dun dun. Okay, so there's no threads in the Y carriage. I don't have any M3 nuts for this. I have a belt. I have empty bags. That's why you don't ever throw the empty bags away. Once you've dumped the hardware out of them, just set them off to the side, because sometimes you miss stuff and you got to go back and double check. Another empty bag. I have 2 M8 nuts. That's not going to work.
What nuts are we looking for?
M3s. They would be tiny little, like these. Now that calls for 7. There was 2, 4, 6, and 7. So we've used all the ones that were in here. All right, let's go to the comments here and see. Again, it says, oh, use part. Okay, no, I didn't read far enough ahead. Use nuts from 9 spare bag. So I gotta go over and get part 9 spare bag. Thanks, Prusa. Must have been a trick they learned from A-Nut. Alright, so we got part 9 spare bag here. You know, they don't really count as spares if you have to use them during the print or the assembly. Now, are they the square ones? Oh, the nuts will be removed in chapter 7. Okay. I think that I remember a fellow YouTuber doing this. I'm gonna drop these down in here. The powder coating on his carriage was good enough that he didn't end up having to put those nuts on. I'm not suffering the same fate. We definitely have to put the nuts on there. So if you're up to this step, keep in mind, nuts are in bag 9 spare part bag, and you're going to put them on and then you're going to take them off again. So I guess it doesn't really matter which M3 nuts we use, because I see lock nuts in here and I see regular nuts in here. Should have had my magnetic tray out for this. There's a couple of on top of here. There's a couple of nylon lock nuts, and then here there's a couple of standard.
Do you want me to put the Sharpie away?
Yeah, you can put the Sharpie away. All right, so I just stuck those on. Just a couple of hex nuts. I didn't use the locking ones. You want to put that back in this bag?
All of it?
Yep. Everything here back in the bag. Not that thing. Did you put those grub screws back in that? Back in that?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are easy to lose and they're very important. All right, you go ahead and put those back in there. Back is starting to get angry from sitting here. Okay, so no Y carriage. All right, so this piece right here, these holes are a little bit oblong, so you can kind of slide this back and forth. So I'm just kind of picking the middle of the hole. It's hard to show you, but and then I'm going to grab these with pliers. All right, I'm gonna need your hands on here, buddy. Take that Allen key there, the top one. Just kind of snug it down a little bit. Okay. And then let's do the bottom one. I can't hold the pliers and the Allen key all at the same time. Okay. All right, so now we got that on there. Let's put that bag. Did you seal it? Yeah. That bag back in part 9 bag. Back there. All right, so then some M3 nuts on the screws from the opposite side of the Y carriage is shown in the picture. These nuts from 9 spare bag. So that looks like exactly what we did. 312 screws are too short for me. They do not reach the other side. They worked fine for me. In my case, the screws reach the Y carriage. If I push the screws all the way in. All right, so I love this community. Everybody in this community is so super helpful. All right, so now we're using the mid-size smooth rods. We are going to insert the 8mm smooth rod into the linear bearing of the Y carriage. Be very careful, insert the rod straight into the bearing. Do not apply too much force and do not tilt the rod. Try to move slightly with the smooth rod after being placed through the bearings. If there is an increased friction, check the bearings are placed straight and not tilted. Okay, so on the single bearing side, which we'll do second, that should go pretty easy. This is the one where you'll likely run into the most issues. And ours is just smooth as butter. By the way, the bearings sound terrible. Nature of the beast. That many ball bearings, metal casing, metal plate. you're just going to get that noise. That's the worst noise that a 3D printer makes. So now we're going to go into the single. And if you try to rotate, the shaft in there, you'll get some resistance. That's normal. Don't force it. I mean, if you do it lightly, you can turn it. But so everything is good there. We can actually now move on to 26, which is putting this bad boy in. All right, so you have a motor side and you have a non-motor side. The single bearing goes on the motor side. If you do it the wrong way, you won't have the clearance and you'll end up whacking that bearing into the motor. I'm gonna go to the overhead view. So what I'm doing, this is upside down. I'm going to lay that shaft where it's supposed to be, rotate up and over, and lay that shaft where it's supposed to be. So the manual says to ensure the correct orientation of parts, the Y motor mount is on the right side and the single bearing is on the bottom. So what I just told you. Well, I guess the bearings don't crash into the motor, but that's the way it is. Then you got to make sure that you get these down in. They actually pop down in, and we have not snapped them in through this whole thing. That was loud. I'll edit it out later. And then you actually use some zip ties now through these holes. But if I'm not mistaken, oh, there is a picture, because there is a specific way that you want to do this. You want to make sure that the head of the zip tie is out. So go ahead and take a zip tie.
Bent at the end.
Yeah, but you're going to go through this hole. Yep, push it through. And then you're going to wrap it up around and put it through. But just tighten it a little bit for right this moment. Don't. That's good. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other end. These people can't see. Okay. So, lock block is out. All right, that's what I wanted to know. Okay, so instructions say, note the location of the Y carriage orientation marker. It's important the Y carriage is orientated as in the picture. Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, that's correct. You see there where the orientation dot is there. It's in the back, opposite the motor, which ours is. Motor's here, orientation dot's here, so that's fine. Ensure correct orientation of zip tie head. We did that. Press smooth rods all the way into the Y corners. Don't use excessive force, but they will click down in there. So, all right, so then here it's showing you. What you want to do is you want to take your zip tie and you want to pull it to the inside like this. So just grab that lock block and pull it around. No, you don't want to tighten it. You don't want to tighten it until you get that block around there. Okay.
So I could tighten this.
Yep. And then what we're going to do is you're actually going to take these pliers. Take these pliers and you're going to grab the end of the zip tie. You watching? And then you're going to twist put the pliers against the block, twist. Put the pliers against the block, twist. Until you can't get any more notches out of it. Okay? So why don't you try this one so I can watch you do it. My glasses on so I can see what you're doing. Take your pliers. Put it all the way in. First thing you can do is like don't squeeze the pliers tight. Leave a little gap in there, you know, like so you can put it and you can just grab this and pull your pliers this way in your hand this way and get it out. So now go ahead and grab onto that and twist. But you want to be all the way up against that block. Now, so you didn't. Here, I know you're trying, and I'm trying to teach you. That's what we're here for. So all the way there. Now squeeze. Now twist. And now move your pliers up and do it again. You're getting like one click out of each one, but that's all that's really needed. All right, let me see how you did. You just into that block. Oh, not good zip ties.
You're supposed to do that?
Well, eventually it would have got cut off, but now it's got a sharp little edge. So I'm going to take my side cutters here and sneak in there and trim it up. Trim it up. Because those things they'll cut the snot out of you. Alright, so I'm going to rotate this whole assembly around and bang it on the table once or twice.
You broke it.
We're going to do the same thing here. Oh, I already did that one, didn't I?
I think so.
Sorry. We use a lot of zip ties for our Christmas light display every year, and I've used a lot of zip ties in computer building through the years, and when you leave that little piece of zip tie hanging on there and then all of a sudden you drag skin across it, woo! It'll take that skin right off. So get rid of that. Now it hasn't told us to put that on yet, but okay, so hopping back over here, we have completed that, and now we are going to assemble the belt on the y-axis, part 1. Insert the YGT2 belt, shorter one, which should technically be this belt, being it was in that bag. Feel the difference in that belt versus the A8 belt. It's rubbery, not so plasticky. Okay, so shorter one in the Y belt holder shown in the picture. Okay, so I'm trying to see, maybe one of the other pictures will show. Yeah, okay. So here you can see a little better what they're doing. We're going to turn this over, and I'm going to turn it like this. I'm sorry it's away from you towards me, but I kind of need to see it. And I can't tell if they're going to the, it would have to be the pin closest to the plate there. But they're making the loop at the end of the belt here, and they're making the loop like this. I'm not sure how many teeth that's supposed to be. I'm not sure how bad I'm supposed to pull my hair out on this step. What's left of it. All right, so spin this around so you guys can see it. I just kind of packed it in there. And admittedly, it's a little bit wonky. I'm going to use the end of my Allen key here. To help push that in. And I did, I pushed it all the way. Give me another view. So now it's tucked in there. Tucked in there nice and deep. There is a reference video included at step 37 for covering all of this. Okay, so 20, let's go over here, 28 and 29 pretty much cover the same step. 30, we loosen the motor screw, and it would be the one on the bottom. I have the unit turned upside down just like they do, so it would actually be the screw. It's to the top of the way that we're sitting right now, but it's the bottom screw if the printer was sitting normally. And you're gonna actually you're gonna back that. See, now they could have just left that screw out totally, which would have, one, made it easier to get that wiring harness through there, and two, it would have stopped us from having to go back and undo stuff that we already did, because nobody likes to have to unbuild what they just built. So we're going to take that out and we're going to tilt that motor. Alright, so 30 was taking the screw out, 31 is tilting the motor. They're now telling us to put the belt through the y-axis, idler. Now, I don't know if we missed it, but that motor totally has a pulley on it.
What?
I don't know if we missed that step.
Or if it were skipped.
So, on the motor there is a flat part of the shaft. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
One of these grub screws, there's two grub screws, one of those grub screws has to be where the flat part of the motor is. Now, you also want to watch, in this particular case, the grub screws are in towards the motor, but sometimes that pulley goes on the other way. So, I'm not going to tighten that down. I'm going to just run that grub screw down to the flat part so that it stays with the flat part, but we're going to have to adjust. Just very light pressure, very light pressure. We're going to have to adjust that pulley position-wise closer or further away from the motor at some point. So, okay, so it now says to use the pliers, insert the flat side of the belt into the Y belt holder shown in the picture, then guide the belt around the bottom pit as shown in the second picture. Okay. So, and again, I apologize for this being to your back, or you seeing the back of this, but I wouldn't be able to actually do this with it the other way. Now, I'm pulling some tension on this belt as I do this. I guess I need to use the pliers like they show. Because as you will learn, these belts need to have some tension on them. But we're about to put a lot of tension on it when we put that motor back up. Can't seem to get it. All right, so I've got it kind of wrapped up around there, but I have to get it in. So I'm going back to using the Allen key to just kind of press it in there. At the same time, I'm going to grab it from the back side to me, the part that's away from me. I just don't know. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, the way that they're saying. I think that now that I've had it in there and I know about where it's supposed to be, I would be better off making the loop yeah, that pushed back in there a lot better. The belt is really slacky though, so we may have to do that one more time. Thank you, buddy. I'm just wondering once oh no. I think once we pull the slack out of that motor, it's really loose right now, but I think once we pull that motor back, it may actually be a little too tight, but we'll I'm just pushing it back into the tensioner, the Allen key. All right, so let me spin this around and show you guys. I don't know, can you see that? It's just kind of wrapped in there. It's coming up, going in there. But now once we tighten this up, that's all going to get tight. So let's see what the manual has to say. Let's see what the two comments are on here. How much should I be concerned about excess belt sticking out of the motor side? Currently winds onto the pulley a little bit just before the limit switch clicks. Okay. And they say that it should not do that. Okay, so using the pliers, insert the belt all the way into the belt holder. Not cut any excess of the belt. It should be evenly distributed on both sides as shown in the picture. I would say mine's a little bit more towards the motor side, but not by much, maybe 2 teeth worth. This belt shouldn't be tight at the moment, which it's, I mean, I guess it's not. It's not super under tension, but let's see what the comments say on that. This did not work for me. After following these instructions, I was getting ovals rather than circles for my printing. I went back and took the one screw off the motor and loosened it again, and then tightened the belt as tight as I could by finger's hand. It's not good to use pliers, and there's no need for pliers. Then I rotated the motor back, and the belt would twang like a guitar string. My ovals are now circles. Alright, I'm not sure about that whole twanging like a guitar string, but okay, so now they want us to rotate the motor back. You're gonna need this, you're gonna need this. I want to make sure I get those wires out of the way. When you're rotating that motor back up, make sure you do not pinch those wires between the metal casing of the motor and the plastic, whatever they called that piece. So I just used my Allen key to get it into the right spot. All right, screw right in through there, and please hurry, kids. That's painful. I gotta come over here so they can see. It's painful on the old thumb. feel like it's threading in. It doesn't look like it's threading in. Just gotta reposition myself here. Alright, try it there. Sorry, I know you guys can't see anything with the back of my hand, but going.
Looks like it.
Mm-mm. Holes right here. All right, try it there. Overhead shot so I can see it.
What's not going on?
It's all right.
Can I be doing it the wrong way?
No, you're doing it the right way. I'm watching. Ooh. All right, I don't know. Pinching wires or what's going on here. On with the Superman glasses. Get it done. Get it in there. Come on.
Is it going in?
Can't tell.
Gosh.
So afraid that I'm pinching those wires off. No, it doesn't. You can't get to the top screw, but it doesn't look like it's lining up at all. All right, right there. Put that screw in. Hurry up. Do it, do it, do it. Ooh, get my thumb. Look at that. Is that the next size though? I'm using the wrong size on that. Ooh, that was painful. Kind of twangs like a guitar string. All right, so I think that we have the same problem where that chunk of belt is rolling into the motor before it hits the switch. So we're We're gonna end up having to trim a little piece of that off, even though they say not to. Got a little bit of a silicone issue here. I got some silicone rolling out of the bearings. All right, let's see how it does the other way. Yeah, it's beautifully smooth. I like it. I don't like how much my thumb hurts right this moment. All right. So I want to readdress this a little bit because I feel like that belt has actually not been pushed in far enough. It is amazing to me that you can put that much tension on the belt when it's just being held in by a piece of 3D printed plastic. All right, so they say back here, I think it was under the comments here, belt loop on the left should not protrude more than 2 tooth. If more, it will interfere with the motor pulley, not allowing for a smooth trigger of the limit switch. You can verify this by manually pulling the table to the trigger. I don't know. I know they say don't cut the belt, but you know what? I'm not undoing that to move that thing just a couple of teeth. If I mess this up, I'll buy new belts. Oh, you guys didn't get to watch that. So I just took my flush cutters. I got in here and cut. Just make sure you cut the right part of the belt. Let's see how it does now when we run it back to the motor. Can't really tell. Like there's a little bit of resistance, but I don't know if that's the limit switch or if it's catching that piece of the belt. That piece of the belt is still crooked too. Let's take it out here to the middle. There we go. Run that back to the motor. Beautiful. Absolutely perfect. So now we didn't tighten that grub screw, and there's a reason for that. If I can have you guys see this. You see this top part of the belt is not in line with the bottom part of the belt. It would have to be over like this. See that? So, and I think that's where the grub screw adjustment comes in. So we are going to, where the flat part is, I'm going to break that loose, and we are going to not move it over that much. That was way too much. You also want to be careful that you don't pull it clean off of there, because start all over again. Yes, some of this adjustment can be done these as well. Okay, gonna run that through its paces. Squares back out of the way. A little wobble in it now that we picked it up a couple of times, but we'll get that. Go all the way from the front side all the way to the back side. 2 thumbs up from this guy. All right. comments. Right, tensioning the belt. Okay, that's where we were. Rotate the motor back. Screw in the removed screw. If you have to apply too much force and experiencing trouble, rotate the motor back. Previous step while making the belt more loose. Belt should feel quite tight. Check it by pressing together both sides in the middle frame with little force. All right, so what they're saying is if you're fighting as hard as I was, it's too tight. But I like it. I'm gonna leave it alone. It's pretty tight, but a loose belt causes a lot of trouble. All right, the comment there says, this is the only part I had to go back to after finishing the printer and even getting it perpendicular at first try. Make sure the belt is very tight. Tension changes a bit once you put the whole printer upside down. So make sure it's tight. Don't worry about the stressing. Don't worry about stressing the belt. If you can still screw in the screw, you should be fine. If you're getting slightly unclean vertical edges in one direction of your print, this is the culprit. All right, so Jacob Dolazal said that it should be tight, but not too much, because you can experience layer shifts. I've never seen layer shifts from a belt that was too tight. Usually always just the other way, but. All right, and there's the video. We're not gonna watch the video. And we are going to adjust the Y idler. Okay, so we wanna move the Y carriage as close as possible to the Y end motor. All right, I'm gonna bring you guys back over to me because you guys can read the manual on your own side. So I got the carriage as far over to the motor. Adjust the Y idler as shown in picture 263H. Bearing housing should be in alignment with the belt. All right, so I'm gonna turn this. They still have it upside down. Yeah, because we still have, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's still a little bit of a belt issue, a belt alignment issue. And so, I know this stuff's boring for you, but this is how you learn. You want to do this part? He's bored, but every time that I ask him if he wants to do something, he doesn't want to do it. All right, so all I'm doing is I've loosened them both. I'm tightening this side, which is pushing it that way, which should then put my belt in alignment. We're just going to keep moving that nut away. Keep sliding this one over. And while I'm doing this, I'm kind of feeling for something that doesn't feel right, or listening for weird sounds, clicking, snapping, you know, stuff that you don't want. You know, I don't know. Why would they have me adjusting this front one? No, it says here to make sure that the carriage is as close to the motor. But in the picture it shows it the other way. And that makes more sense to me. That didn't make any sense that they would want that carriage away. And then now, yeah, you can plainly see how terribly off that is. So we now want to loosen this nut. That just didn't seem right to have that so far away. I have to move it in just a little bit so I can get the wrench in there. my wrenches have a bit of a smaller open end head on them, so. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm tightening this one to push it that way to get it in line with. I will have to make sure that I comment on that. There's 2 comments in there. Let's see what. No, but that clearly says to move the Y carriage as close as possible to the Y end motor. So that's wrong. Just a little bit more. I like that. I might have to fine tune it, so I'm not going to over tighten these yet. Yeah, I don't think I like this frame design. I mean, it might be a bulletproof printer, etc., but it's a terrible way to have to build this thing. All right, so now we're going to bring this all the way back. Click. And I'm loosening the ones on the motor side. Your mileage may vary because your belt may need to move the other way, but I think that I have to. Move that just a little. Watch those wires too, because you're pinching with the wrench. There's not much room to swing a wrench in there. Or a spanner for those of you from Great Britain, other places. It's actually pretty good. No, I see what it's doing. It's actually bringing the bottom of that belt, like it's pulling it, the bottom of the belt, like it's going to pull it out of that holder. So I think I want to adjust it back the other way a little bit. If you want to take a break from this and go help your mom for a little bit, you can.
Okay.
All right. Everybody say bye to Xander for a little bit. He's actually leaving for camp tomorrow, and he's gotta get packed and spend some time with his mom.
No, brother, no, brother, no.
That's exactly what your brother's saying. I always complains about his little brother, but he'd be lost without him. Well, this is really boring to watch, isn't it? But all right, so now I like it. Now it's a little bit more. I was originally watching the top, which is actually the bottom, but to make sure that it was in line with the bottom, but it was actually then causing the bottom to pull, like it was going to pull out of the tensioner. So now I'm watching the bottom to make sure that it's in line with the motor, and then the top kind of fall into place with that. And then we're going to go back and we're going to check the check that top side. See, now there I might have just taken it a little too far because the bottom, this bracket right here was crooked. It was at an angle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up this nuts on the other side. I'm going to bring these nuts, the opposite side of the motor, up flush, and I'm going to turn them exactly the same number of times. So quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn. I like that. And then we will come in on this side and tighten these guys up. Plastic. Tight to the plastic. All right, so sliding that all the way down, spinning it around again, just to see, because now this side is not lined up anymore. Which I kind of knew that was going to happen. So looking, and I can't see. I think that's the problem. Yeah, this needs to move that way just a little bit. If you run that end stop all the way, or that carriage all the way to the end, you can't really see the belt. Then you don't know if it's in line or not. And I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to grab that belt, that little extra piece of belt, tug it over a little bit because it seemed like it was sticking out a little bit. All right, so once again, all the way that way, looks great. All the way that way, looks fantastic, feels fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's step 37. It's a success. Aerial view. So now you can see that belt looks pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. I like it. All right, so close out of those. Okay, so all of that is adjusted. Make sure that you hear the click sound. Definitely hear the click sound. The belt part of the pulley has to be in axis with the belt itself. Tighten gently to don't break the plastic. All right, so tighten the screws in the pulley. One of the screws has to be tightened directly against the pad, the flat part, which we covered that. Keep a small gap between the motor and the pulley, which I'm pretty sure we have a gap. Yes, we do. So step 40, zip tie the cables to the threaded rod as shown in the picture. So let's blow up that picture so that we can see. They have it upside down. Overhead's probably going to be the best view. I know that camera's far away, but if I move it down, then it's in my face. So, all right, so the wires come across here. These now, when you put this zip tie on, don't crank this zip tie crazy tight. Just did I do that the wrong way? Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna cut that off. I don't know if orientation really matters on these, but It actually shows coming in from the back like this. So the block is here. I'm up and around. Yeah, I'm afraid that if you were to pull these cables like crazy tight, that you would slice them right into that threaded rod. So if you're not like, if your hands aren't like super strong, you can pull it as tight as you want and then take your pliers and do just like one click. My hands are pretty strong, so I don't want to do that. I think I would rather just leave it the way it is. All right, we're gonna come in, and then I don't want these cables to be all twisty, just because, you know, OCD again. See what they say, if they say anything about. Tighten the zip ties carefully. There you go. Be careful while cutting the zip ties. Avoid cutting the wires. And then around the corner here, same way. We're taking the block, coming in from the outside, coming up and around. Where it is in this corner right here, I'm not gonna pull these tight so that I'm gonna leave them pushed into the corner, and then I'll tighten the zip tie down. Sorry about that rocking, if that's showing up on the mic. And then this one looks to be about 20 millimeter or so back from that jam nut. And it looks like, in fact it is, these are up underneath. They come up underneath this rod right here. So these are actually down. I got them pulled up on they're actually down like that. And then we're going to go back and snip all these. Please do not pull those zip ties too tight against those wires. It's that threaded rod, because eventually they will wear through, and then they will short out, and then there'll be all kinds of problems, and you won't know what's going on. All right, coming back over here. All these pictures. Quick drink of tasty beverage here. All right, here's the point where we start to worry about this thing rocking. And hopefully, let's go to this view. We're still good. Oh yeah, we're beautiful. No problem at all. Everything is still nice and tight and wonderful, and sleeping like a baby. Yes. All right, so this is, see what it says there in red. This is your last chance to ensure the y-axis is perfectly angled and level. It'll save you a lot of hassle later. Use aluminum frame for check, but be careful for possible scratches. Oh, okay, so they're saying that I can use the what I'm gonna do, that Xander's left me, I can take over more of the bench with tools. I have my 6-inch caliper. I'm going to break out my big 12-inch caliper, or metric wise it's what, 300 millimeters. I just want to double check 188 on the outside, 188 on the outsides. Okay, so for any of you that aren't familiar with squaring stuff up, and this is not big enough. Everybody said, yeah, the 300 millimeter would be great, they said. Well, we are definitely right this way. I don't have a metric ruler. I meant to buy one before this. It just didn't happen. I almost fell out of my chair like I warned you guys about. I have an imperial square. And I still don't even see how that's going to be possible. What a lot of people are doing is they're actually taking two of these combination squares, and they're putting two heads on one to check across, like so. Just be careful not to scratch up your smooth rods. Of course, this is yeah, I think I have a problem here. But how is that even possible? Not possible. This is taking a lot of faith in the 3D printed parts being exact. I mean, we're taking measurements off of a part that came out of a printer. So, but what I'm going to do is I flipped it over. I'm going to take my imperial tape measure. I'm going to hook this corner, and I'm going to pick a corner here, which I'm going to take the one closest to the inside, and I'll do the same on that one, and same on the back. And at this point, I have 15 1/8 of an inch, and here I have 15. So I am actually a little bit out of square. I have to think about how to fix that. I don't know how that would be adjustable. Yeah, that's exactly 15 inches that way. And here it's 15 1/8. Now, this particular step is talking about it being square this way. I might be overthinking this. And because of the nature of this beast, there's really no way to... Oh, I guess. Oh, I got, okay. All right, I'm seeing. Okay, so yeah, let me let you guys see now. All right, so because of these threaded rods, that's where the changes are going to be made. Is we're going to change the tension on these. We're going to shift, and then we have to check. We're going to have to check this again. But if this one, and I'm going to go from 1. If this one is 16 1/8, which would be 15 1/8, this block needs to come back. So I don't change this one, and I suck this one back. That upper rod already in there. So, but sorry, I know I'm talking to myself a lot. Well, actually, I'm only talking to myself because you're not really here till later. But I'm just trying to figure this out in my own head, and sometimes saying it out loud is the best medicine. So what I've done is I've loosened this inner one out, or inner one up, and then I'm pulling this one in. And I don't want to end up at 15. I want to end up at like 15 and 1/16 inch. And it actually is not moving at all because of these smooth rods. So I'm not doing a bit of good. I'm not moving that thing, not whatsoever. Those smooth rods are already end to end as far as they can. Like, these are pulled into those smooth rods as tight as they can be. So I think maybe what I want to do is, well, no, I don't want to make that bigger, because those are also already end to end as tight as they can be. We don't want those rods to move. So you know what? I'm not going to mess with it. That is something that I can come back in and adjust later. This is what they're talking about now. Is I bent it, I flexed it doing all of that. So I'm gonna put the wrench under that corner, just little flex there. All right, we're good. I'm not monkeying with it anymore. That's the way it is. So let's hop back over to here. All right, so it wants me to put the felt pads on the feet. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I know why. I was gonna say no, that I wasn't gonna put them on there. But I understand now when we put that aluminum frame underneath there how it was a little bit rocking, because it takes into consideration those feet. So here they are. They're in the box. 2, 3, 4, 5 sub. I'm going to turn this back over again very gently. Hoping not to bend anything. And we're just going to put those felt feet on. And I'm not pushing them real hard. I'll turn it over and push it from the other side to get them down on there better. These are not the greatest solution for noise transfer. I guess it'll not, help to not scratch up my desk, which is important to me. It's a custom built desk that I made myself. And it's Formica topped, so. Okay. Everything's good, so it's going to kind of get a little press to set the adhesive on there. Throw that in the bin. Thank you, number 13, for picking me such nice felt feet. All right, so hop back over to here. Felt pads are on. Recommend skipping the felt pads for now. Noise reduction only. If you notice misalignment later, fixing it will be impossible with the pads attached. So I'd add them once calibrated. Okay. Y end stop check. Move the wire carriage as close to the Y end motor, which is, make sure that you hear the click sound. The colors on the picture are a bit oversaturated to highlight the end stop button. All right, so I'm really impressed that my microphones picked that up. So we have the click, we're good. Step 44, double check the Y carriage. This is a crucial part of the assembly, it says. Please check again. You can see the marked part of the Y carriage as shown in the picture. Otherwise your heat bed won't fit properly. And there's my part. There's my mark. If we go to the top, you see my motor's here, my mark is here. If you look in the picture, motor's here, mark is here, so 100%. And step 45, all done. Congratulations, you've assembled the Y-axis. You can continue by assembling the X-axis in the next chapter. All right, now I gotta say, that took a long time. When they said 3 hours, I thought, no way. In fairness, if I didn't have to video this, I could have probably knocked it out a lot quicker. Not saying that I'm like this super amazing 3D printer guy, but I have faith in you guys that you should be able to do it a little bit quicker than that. Also, you don't know, but I took a break in between there for lunch. That's just the movie magic portion of it. We just disappear and come back, you don't even know it. But overall, I'm pleased. Y-axis is done. That is the end of step 2. And yeah. So next is step 3, which is the X-axis assembly. So that's cool. That's cool. I can clear a spot on the bench to park this for now. We'll get going on the X-axis. We'll release that video when it's ready. For now, if you're not already subscribed to our channel, hit that subscribe button down there and ring the little bell. You gotta do the bell to get notifications now, but then you'll get notifications of when step 3 comes out. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like what we're doing, go ahead and give us a thumbs down, but also leave us a comment to tell us why. Or just leave us a comment. Don't give us a thumbs down. That would be even better. But you know, we're big people. We can take it. I think that's all I need to tell you for this. There's always this one thing that, oh, that's right. Print on.